SAROS is one of those games that caught my eye almost immediately. The game looks absolutely stunning, and the concept of going through a level or environment multiple times and starting as a low-leveled, easily bullied protagonist and evolving into a fully fledged, nearly untouchable badass after a bit of grinding is my absolute jam. When I saw the trailer and gameplay for SAROS, I laid my eyes on those desolate wastelands, dilapidated cities, and gross enemy designs, and I knew I had to play it. I mean, look at this design. It's absolutely disgusting. I love it. So the first thing I did was Google if I had to play Returnal before I played this game, and to my absolute pleasure, I did not. And after finding out it had a really deep and complex story that I was absolutely going to have to search ending explained for at the end of it, I was hooked. So I booted up the game and I played it for about an hour before having to put the controller down. And in this time, I was pretty much doing what everyone does when they first play this game, and I got my ass absolutely handed to me by the first boss. And I died for the first time, but at least I got a bronze trophy out of it. After playing for a bit, I found out that there were multiple weapons. I didn't know at the time, but there are actually quite a few weapons. I love the upgrade from the pistol to the rifle, and I started really basing my initial playstyle around it. This netted me the relentless trophy to land 50 consecutive shots on hostiles with rifles only 16 minutes after getting absolutely destroyed by the first boss. And this is where I put the controller down for a bit before coming back to it later in the same day. After a few more runs and trials, I was able to get a little bit more comfortable with the controls and the aspects of the game. I was swapping back and forth between trying different pistols and rifle combinations, and I ended up damaging 7 hostiles within 7 seconds with the pistol and figured out how to melee while Arjun basically flew around the map with his insane jumping and dashing capability. Now for the next little bit of game time, I was getting a little bit better and a bit more comfortable, knocking out basic stuff and earning points in the skill tree. I was able to unlock second chance, use it, absorb projectiles with my shield, and ultimately beat the first boss Prophet after quite a few tries. At this point, I was feeling pretty good, comfortable but stressed with the game and really having a fun time. The story was also pretty wild, and I was interested in what was happening since there's very little guidance or clarification on what's going on in the very beginning of the gameplay.
It was promised.
Now, my initial momentum and comfortability with the game absolutely ended when I reached the next biome, and I realized that this game was not going to hold my hand. I must have fought against the second boss Bastion at least 25 times before finally defeating him. There's literally a 7-day gap between me defeating Prophet and me defeating Bastion, and by the time I finally did it, I was absolutely ready to move on. I'm not gonna lie, I really thought about putting the controller down and giving up on this game, but I'm so glad I didn't. But after having literally everything in the skill tree unlocked that I could at the time, and still getting mollywopped by the boss, I was getting frustrated. But I should have been getting good instead of getting frustrated, and ultimately I beat Bastion and ended up getting some pretty good momentum through the rest of the game. I ended up getting some pretty good story progression through the Banyan tree and actually found it quite simple to walk through the next few boss encounters and biomes. I'm not sure if the grinding I did against Bastion really set me up or if I was just finally having the mechanics of the game click for me, but I ended up beating Rabdom and Legion both in the first try and only about 30 minutes apart from each other. This led to me continuing on the story, and I managed to actually defeat the giant behemoth Architect and complete Act 1. Architect was not an easy fight, but after a few tries, I actually was able to get it done pretty swiftly. Keep in mind, I was primarily relying on rifles that had auto hit enabled, and this was essentially the only weapon that I would pick up. I also kind of got annoyed when the game made me use new weapons as it was introducing them because I was so comfortable and I felt good with the rifle, but this absolutely comes back to bite me in trophy cleanup towards the end. Now, it was around the end of Act 1 that I actually contracted hand, foot, and mouth disease from my lovely children, and when you're sick, the world kind of starts to slow down around you, and you get kind of tired and lethargic, and that is absolutely not something you can have in this game. So much stuff is happening around you at all times. My watch often actually told me I needed to take a break while I was playing it because I was just getting stressed, but what does my watch know? So I took the sick time to grind out some old levels and gain some additional nodes on my skill tree until I eventually felt better and managed to actually defeat the Priestess after trying out a bunch of new power weapons and ended up getting all the trophies associated with them. And all in one fell sweep of a day, I managed to defeat the Priestess and the King while finishing up the game, or so I thought at that point. It was here that I got a little lost and I couldn't really figure out how to go through the epilogue, even though the answer was literally right in front of me and I have no idea how I missed it. For some time, I actually went back and mopped up some of the combat related trophies like completing a biome without using a shield, using the environment to defeat an enemy, defeating 30 enemies with overdrive in a single run, collecting 70 halcyons, defeating 10 alpha hostiles, and collecting 20 integrity augments. At this point, I finally Googled how to finish the epilogue and figured it out, allowing me to finish and get the final scene from the banyan tree and bring me right back to the Yellow Shore, where I ended up getting the end of the epilogue, which I still had to do twice because I killed the boss instead of just walking away like an idiot. But ultimately, I did finish it. And in my final run of the Yellow Shore, I did get 20 halcyons, and I managed to stagger 2 hostiles with 1 parry, getting me multiple more trophies. Now, after completing the epilogue and having that gold trophy in my possession, it was time to clean up the rest of the game, and I was really dreading the hardest trophy in the game based off power picks, which is to beat a biome without taking any damage. But after trying it a few times in Shattered Descent, I actually got it pretty easily just by taking it slow and then absolutely unloading my power weapons in overdrive into Rabdom. Then I really had to clean up those weapon-specific trophies by using weapons that I'd literally never used before as an overpowered god in the early biomes of the game. But it was pretty simple. The only difficult thing and grindy part about the end of this game was getting 25 kills with each weapon in the game, and that was mainly because it was just boring and frustrating, since the only way you can really track this is through the trophy progression in the PlayStation homepage or the databank in the game. I really can't complain too much though, because 25 is not a lot and there are only 19 weapons in the game. This trophy could have been a lot worse, but ultimately after grinding it for just a little bit, I did get it. Then there was only 1 trophy left, and that was to come back to the main hub 33 times with having the Carcosan modifiers on. I love this because it's a little nod to Expedition 33. And after coming back through 1 more run through Shattered Descent, I got this trophy and then ultimately earned my platinum trophy. Now, when it comes down to it, SAROS isn't a very difficult platinum. It takes a bit of grinding once you complete the game, but really it's absolutely doable. I will say that you do get a little bit bored and tired of the game towards the end, but I ended up earning all 45 trophies in just under 25 hours, and I don't regret it. I think this game was a blast, and I absolutely did look up an ending explained video towards the end to figure out what the heck was even going on. Overall, it's a great platinum experience, and I would recommend it if you go through the game because, I mean, it just has you experience pretty much everything the game has to offer. There's no real downside except maybe a bit of grinding and a bit of boredom depending on your ability to handle that. Let me know what you think of SAROS in the comments. I do make an effort to respond to every single comment, and I can't wait to talk to you guys about what you think and talk to you in the next one.